Denette Schaer with the Broken for Better podcast.
And we are a marriage ministry that believes that you can pick up something today to make your relationship better. Enjoy.
Welcome back. We're Kurt and Denette Schaer, just two best friends having conversation. And we are on part 4 already.
It's crazy.
Of Fight Night. That's
Flowing
right.
through it.
Fight Night. Everyone fights in marriage. Fighting can be beneficial. We've talked about the do's and the don'ts, all the different things. And today we're going to be talking again about,
Week 4. And
Week 4.
But I want to tackle something.
Okay.
Because I know you have your little notes.
I do.
But I want to go.
You're going to go rogue?
I want to talk about something I said last week.
Oh, okay.
I talked about, not giving space for the enemy while you sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And you even talked about it. Like somebody's going to be speaking death over you and going to bed angry like that leaves this gap. And so I kind of want to how do you, and just this topic, this thought that came to my eyes, how do you medicate the madness? Okay. So here you're fighting and how do you're angry and let's, put this thing into scenarios here. And we talked about, journaling, talked about getting a mediator, but I want real life things because here's the truth. Some people don't know how to medicate the madness. So they turn to wrong medications. Lots of ways. Some people are going through it and their partner doesn't want to do that. They're fighting by themselves.
Right.
Some people, they're both major fighters. And so this conflict is just like clashing. And it begins to seed in you these things that aren't good. So help me a little bit, like that I said that. Hey, how do you medicate the madness? What's your thought on it? We have an anger problem. We're fighting. Our communication is terrible. I don't want the sun to go down on my wrath, but it's not working. So just boom, give me something I can tangibly hold on to right now. Go.
You know what's so wild? When you first said medicate the madness, I immediately thought of something negative. Like I thought, ooh, I don't know if I like that. Like I don't know if I like that term. Like should we medicate the madness? But then if you think about medicine or you think about drugs, right? Drugs, there's good drugs and there's harmful drugs. There's drugs that help you. There's medication that helps you beat illnesses, that helps you beat certain diseases. So there's healthy medications and then there's unhealthy medications. And then there's even healthy medications that still have side effects to them. Yeah. And so I think it's trying to find and asking you and your spouse, like what are our boundaries? What are our guidelines? What are the things that are off limits? What are the things that are on limits? What are healthy medications in our marriage that we can actually say, this is healthy, this is unhealthy, this is on topic, this is not allowed. And I think that's a very important conversation to have. I know we have boundaries, like certain things that are allowed and not allowed.
Yeah.
In our home that even, whether or not we were arguing with each other or arguing with our children, like there's a level of respect that has to be given and talked about. Like I remember if our boys like reared up, with disrespect, that was when you would snap. Like you don't talk to mom like that. This is a line. This is a boundary. Yeah. But so often we have that boundary with our children, but maybe not with each other.
I mean this, I love healthy conflict.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's beneficial.
I don't like conflict.
Yeah.
But healthy conflict I do like. And that's what you're talking about. Like I wanted my young men to be men. Speak up. Tell me your heart. Tell me where you're at. Whether I like it or not, let's talk it out. Yeah. But when it came disrespectful, then I became unhealthy. And, so I feel like, and there was a wise person, I don't know if it was a theologian, but a wise person once said,
was
a
it
spoonful of sugar.
Oh, that is an amazing theologian. Mary Poppins. I adore
that is her theologian.
That's my theologian.
But so medicines are they may not taste great and they may not be comfortable. And maybe for you, these medicines, we've tried that. They haven't worked. And I'll just tell you, man, let's put a new spin on it. Let's talk about something a little different. Maybe you see it different. Maybe your spouse sees it different. Maybe your kids see it different to where this medicine actually does work. Mm-hmm. It's just got to be presented in a way.
And there's been times when I've come to you and said, hey, and you're like, I don't like this, or I don't like this conversation, or I don't like how you, maybe spoke to me in this way. And so there's been healthy seasons in our marriage where I've been saying, oh, well, how do you want me to do that differently? How could I have could I have handled that differently that you would have heard it from me in a healthy way? And so I think that's important, because we do. We have
in my head, I'm like topless. I would hear it way different.
Would you? Would you hear it? Would you hear it at all?
I promise you, the conflict would be gone.
Anyhow, I don't know that that's your best medication, but I will say.
I don't know if that is a medication.
I don't know if
It's
that's
a good
one.
I think that's good.
I bet you do. Anyhow, I think that there's ways for me to, to say, how would I come to you in this scenario and it best be addressed, because there has to be boundaries. There has to be boundaries. And we, teach all the time in coaching, even in wars, right? I mean, we're watching right now, our world is in utter chaos. I mean, it really is. There's so many fears. There's so many concerns. And there's people that are posting certain things about, certain countries because they're saying, hey, they're breaking a rule of war. And so there's even rules of war. There's even rules of engagement. And so if there's rules in war, there should be rules in our marriage and in our fighting. And,
I love that. I love that analogy. Actually, we use that a lot. And hearing you say it I like that.
So coming up, what are some rules, just to give some clarity? Because you might be saying, man, we have no rules. And so it's, it's no holds barred in our house. Anything goes. What are some rules for us that you would say are
Well, I'll tell you
rules?
one that we have shared with people that's very real. Not necessarily with us per se in this season, but when trauma happens or when fight happens, it happens at certain times. And sometimes, many times, if you find out about this trauma or you find out about infidelity or you find out about the pain in the evening time, then evening time becomes a trigger. You remember that moment. You remember when the pain, you remember when the cost. And so sometimes realizing, hey, dealing with anger and pain in this moment can be triggering. So if we're going to talk about the hurt and the pain, let's do it in a morning routine, because the night routine just drudges up so much pain and hurt already that I can't even think straight. So when dealing with that area of conflict, go to a different time of day.
Yeah.
Use a different scenario. Don't talk about it in the same venue that the pain occurred.
Right.
Take it outside, talk on a walk, talk on the porch, change the surroundings so that it doesn't put you in the mindset of, this is the exact scenario when I found out about the pain.
Yeah.
Know the times of day that are best suited when you're your healthiest to deal with conflict.
Yeah. I think another one of our rules was conversations that had an opportunity to be unhealthy, conversations that had an opportunity to affect the others in our household. They were done outside the household. Like, we didn't want something that we were walking through in our trauma to cause trauma with our boys. And so there were times that I knew I was going to be very sad and I was going to be very potentially loud. And so we needed to have those conversations in a safe place, like you said already, but saying, okay, that needs to be, we used to go to the park and we would have conversations in the park. We would have conversations sometimes in public.
So now that you say, let's go to the park, and I start twitching. I'm like, no park. Let's not do the park. I don't like the park.
He's like, I never want to walk to the park again. But having those conversations in a place that we know, okay, let's put ourselves in an environment to where we force ourselves to hear each other clearly. Instead of, because like we've encouraged couples, that could be a coffee shop for you. That could be somewhere that this is going to be a safe environment to have a healthy conversation, to where you're actually going to listen to your partner and not allow it to get somewhere that it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, and don't hear incorrectly. We are not saying hide pain and trauma from your children, because our children, when the time was right, we sat them down and walked through all of our trauma.
Yeah.
We let them know where we're at. We let them know why you were emotional, why there was tears, pain that I had caused. We walked that out in a very healthy for them. But in order to walk that out healthy with them, we first had to go on the journey.
Absolutely.
So that we could then bring them along our painful journey.
Because they weren't responsible for healing our pain.
and they're not mature enough to handle it. But we also don't want them walking around like, why is mom so sad? And are my parents about to get a divorce? Or what is this happening? I mean, that's another boundary for us.
Right.
You know, flip it into another boundary. The D word, that
D
word.
Yeah.
You did that. I don't know why.
The big D. Going through the
keep...
big D and don't mean Dallas. That song?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And Maline's like, what in the world? That's a country song.
So, the divorce word, we lost that in our vocabulary.
Yes.
Now, that being said, I know you're passionate about this.
Mm-hmm.
Please hear me. There are some scenarios
that
we are not about enablement.
Correct. You have to be safe. And if you are walking through adultery that's unrepentant, like you have a spouse that is just not repentant and they are untrustworthy, or you're dealing with abandonment issues, they've abandoned you and your family, and you have done everything to restore, but the big one is abuse. A spouse that sometimes can even twist these conversations that we're having here with, we need to fight for this and fight for that, but they aren't a safe place to fall back on because they don't keep boundaries. That's not okay. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your family, and drawing lines in the sand and saying these are the boundaries for me and my children. That's important. And you have every right. And God wants his children to be protected and loved and supported. And I don't believe that there's any part of the heart of a father that would want their daughter or their son to be mistreated in the name of conflict resolution. Physical,
emotional, mental. I mean, these are all narcissist. Like, these are all real things that these are situations that when we say divorce is not in conflict, you and I, when we have discussions now, divorce that's not even our thought process. Like, we're going to work through this pain. It's not going to be hard, but never is it, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm out.
And it goes back to that, like, a covenant isn't just a contract. Like, we took a covenant with each other, and God loved us on our worst day. And so when I took that covenant with you, it was, I'm going to love you on your worst day. I expect these things because I require certain things in order to be in good relationship with you. Even God has certain things that he wants us to do in order to be in good relationship with him, but it doesn't mean that he turns his back on us, right? And so it's a covenant. It's a continual dying to self. And so I think that's so important for us to remember, like, God loved us on our worst day. And so that D word has to be off the table.
And I do want to honor you. Like, I've put you through some really hard days. And I know I've said it privately, but publicly, thank you. I know it hasn't been easy. And you have fought hell. And I don't take any of it for granted. So know that I love you.
I love you too very much.
Okay.
Side note.
Two best friends having a conversation.
Two best friends. So I think that, a good takeaway would be just that remembrance of peace for the sake of peace isn't peace, it's avoidance. I think having those conversations, there's
Wait, hold on a sec. Just I mean, that's one of them, like, I'm sitting here telling you how much I love you and getting all weepy, and you just like, peace for the sake of peace is not peace, it's avoidance. You just drop that on me like that. Like, can you break that down? Because I think so many compartmentalize anger and conflict, and that statement is huge.
I think, for me, being a recovering people pleaser for a lot of years, especially the beginning of our marriage when we were very unhealthy, it was easier for me at times to just stuff things and not address them. And what I realized after years of doing that, I realized, man, we're not growing closer, we're growing further apart. And why? Because I'm just stuffing things in order to keep the peace, but we weren't having healthy conflict, so we weren't addressing anything. And so keeping that same distance from each other, whether it's just for peace or whatever, that doesn't breathe closeness. And, it makes me think of that, like that yard of the month. You know, when you drive by in certain neighborhoods.
Which, by the way, our son's our lawn guy.
Shout out to Bella Rosa.
Well, we never got yard of the month.
I know. But hey, we don't really do that in our neighborhood. It's not his fault. He's a great landscaper. Lawn care.
Yeah. Hey, I'm knocking him. You're like, shout out to Bella Rosa.
I'm like don't make fun of my boy.
Yard of the month.
He does amazing lawn work. If you're looking for a lawn company, Bella Rosa, check him out.
Sponsored by Bella Rosa.
But there's, you know, in some neighborhoods, not ours, but in some neighborhoods, they have that lawn of the month, right? And it's like the one that is the most, you know, decked out and the best kept. But even if you get close to the yard and you look, you're going to see imperfections. You're going to see weeds. It doesn't matter how nice it looks from afar. There's weeds. But the difference between that yard and maybe the next door neighbor's yard is that they're not just letting them go rampant. Like they're addressing their weeds. Like if they see something, they pluck it, they address it, they handle it. And we can just turn a blind eye and say, oh, it doesn't matter. But it's that, you know, being able to address it. And so we can all get in that comparison game with like, man, I wish my yard looked like that yard. I wish my marriage looked like that marriage. But that marriage only looks like that because they're addressing conflict. They're plucking those weeds. They're saying we need to work on this to better our marriage.
Man, that's like that social media syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Like you see it and you just see all the highs and all that. We were just talking to somebody yesterday who was talking about all the highs, and they got off social media because all you see is high, and they weren't. I mean, it was beating them down. And I think, man, FOMO. If I'm honest, like the reality of my life is I embrace, for a long time, I have embraced the thought that peace for the sake of peace is peace. And to hear you say it in the way you said it is bonkers to me. And you do not. Like, you embrace this. Oh, no, we're going to talk about it. So I've had to learn to like, oh, we're not at peace still. When for me, for guys, not even only guys, but for some people, you throw that thing in a box and think that it's gone. But inevitably what happens in a home, you keep throwing things in a closet and no longer see it. Eventually, you're going to open that closet door and everything comes crashing out. Everything. Do
you remember, speaking, like if you listened last week, check last week out, but if you listened last week, we were talking about our trailer, and our first house was a trailer and a waterbed, but we had that bedroom that was like our junk room, and it would just like grow and grow, and things we didn't know what to do with, or like, you know, whatever, we would just toss it in there. And then eventually what happens, like you can't get in the room, and it just became like this hoarder-ish room.
Yard sale,
yeah. But it just grows. It grows, and our conflict is the same way. When we don't address it, it just grows.
Man.
It just grows.
The first home.
Yeah.
I think we could do a whole episode on the highs and lows of our first home.
We should do a tour.
Could you imagine we just went back there and asked them?
Excuse me,
we used to live here.
We used to live here.
We want to tell the stories about the rats and the fleas and the blown open walls and
my gosh.
brother getting arrested for a gun. And bro, we got so many nuts.
Wait, what did you say about a gun?
Yeah, remember?
No, I don't. You got arrested? You didn't get arrested. No.
One of my younger brothers went over because the alarm went off, so they went over
to find out what was going on, and then anyhow.
And I guess a 17-year-old couldn't own a gun.
I'm gonna have to cut that out. That's how they talk about. But anyways, yeah.
Tales of our first home.
Yeah, but conflict can be good if it's addressed, and we don't leave it so that it grows and it manifests and it turns into something else.
Be honest and open. What's your medication process? Listen, for some, the reality is alcohol is a medication process for you, and anger is rampant because alcohol is in a place it shouldn't be.
Shopping.
Pills, shopping, overeating. There's just so many things that potentially we're masking, and they are unhealthy medications. I would encourage you, seek truth. Biblically, see what God's word says about it. Pray through it. Get people in your corner. Have people walk alongside of you. We keep banging the drum. Mediators, coaches, people that can come alongside of you. get ways to mitigate conflict well. It is the only way you're going to see healthy remedies to your situation.
Yeah. You would never turn down a doctor's prescription if you knew that it was going to affect your future and it would affect the health of your person. So you can't turn down healthy medication for your marriage. It's important. It's important.
Week 4.
Wow.
Listen, we love you guys. We continue to say thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for investing into Broken for Better. We pray that the little bit that we've given today invest into your marriage and equips your family to walk out a better tomorrow. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Once again, we want to say thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Our true desire is this has brought value to you, your marriage, and or your family. The fact is, we can't do what we do without the support of you. By your liking, subscribing, and sharing this content, it reaches to those that are beyond our reach. Also, we would encourage you, check out our website, brokenforbetter.com. Become a monthly supporter because by you supporting us, you too are making a difference in marriages.
We want to stay connected with you. So follow us on all the different social media platforms at Broken for Better, because on those different platforms, we're going to be giving tools, we're going to have events, all the different ways that we can stay connected, and we want to be connected.
One of the terms that we've adopted is if your marriage will visit a fitness center, you too can avoid a trauma center. We truly believe in marriage coaching. It doesn't matter what season of life you're in, whether your marriage is a 10 or whether your marriage is a 1. We offer marriage coaching to take it to another level.
Thank you for joining us.